You know, when you're a baller, you don't have to say anything, do anything. They'll come find you.
If he's gonna make my business look bad, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I want him here. I want him to be ready, but that's on him. It's not on me. He's supposed to know what it takes. So if they're not ready, show me he's not ready.
So my full name is Darnell Miller, and I'm from Kansas City, Kansas, Wyandotte County.
Tell us about your hometown. What was it like growing up there?
So a little bit about my hometown. Um, as far as the basketball world goes, we're not very, what is the right word? We're very underlooked, very underprivileged. As far as scouts coming to watch our games, as far as having access to open gyms and being able to have resources to get better. As far as the everyday life, they call it crime dot. It's just like any other place. You know, bad things happen, good things happen, but it's just a small city at the end of the gist of it. So my biggest struggle in life or growing up in sports, I honestly want to say it was um, accepting the reality of what my life was, right? So coming from struggle, coming from a small town, coming from being underlooked, and then everybody goes through things at home, lights off, things like that. Hungry nights. It comes with life from people like us, right? So we know this. But I to answer that question honestly, it wasn't really a thing. I wish I knew better that my attitude about the situation is what I want to say. So I feel like if I would have had a different attitude and just accepted where I was, accepted where we came from, accepted instead of comparing and looking at the outside, oh, this guy's got an easy road, or oh, everything's set and made and tailored for him. But in the end, that's what made the dog in me as big as it is.
You said you felt overlooked at one time or another in life. Talk about that a little bit more. Like how has that looked in your life, and then like at what moments and what did that make you feel like you felt overlooked or bad?
So it really started in about, I want to say, eighth grade. I was a B team player in eighth grade. Granted, I went to Sumner Academy. They were loaded at the time. We were loaded just as far as talented basketball kids, but I didn't really play much. I was a B team player, but my game really started to develop from eighth to 10th grade. I started getting a lot better, but I still wasn't getting playing time. I still wasn't getting picked up at the local hoop sessions. So I kind of just put my head down at that point and really decided to grind and try to overtake everybody. As a player, what has been my toughest moment? I'm gonna go out on a limb and say breaking my ankle 2 years ago. Uh, it was one of those freak accidents, kind of like the Paul George's. Mine just happened a little bit lower. I dislocated it and fractured it, so I got the screws in there and everything. But overall, that was probably the hardest, just because I'd never been injured before, football or basketball, anything growing up. So just dealing with the injury of that capacity, as my first injury, it weighed on me a lot. And then I was in the middle of trying to transition into being a pro on my own, going to combines, doing everything that it takes to be a pro. So for that to just happen, honestly, right before I almost signed a deal to a team called Wichita Sky Kings, I was on a second tryout. I was in the gym that week. I had it coming up, the second tryout on a Saturday. I broke my ankle on a Monday trying to get ready, playing pickup ball. That was a tough time, honestly. There was a lot going on, actually. My uncle had just previously passed the year before. So, that male figure in my life was gone. I didn't really have any guidance or anybody to talk to. That OG factor, I guess you could say. Um, I ended up losing a job at that time, ended up losing a girl at that time, so it just kind of felt like everything was falling apart, to be honest with you.
Did you ever feel like you wanted to quit?
Absolutely. Multiple times. I would even say on life a little bit, to be honest, just to be truthful, it can take you there when you've been chasing a sport your whole life, you know what I mean, to provide for your family, to, prove to yourself that you are who you say you are. And then for something like that to happen right before you get your break, it definitely made me want to give up. I started training kids around COVID. I think that is what motivates me to keep going because to see the joy in the kids, to see how much they love the game of basketball, I feel like I'm still that kid, not ever playing AAU, not having as many live game reps as a lot of players. I never lost that kid joy. So when I train kids and I see that in them and it comes to life and it brings the life back into me, I'm really starting to fall in love with it. And I want to use this to help build that.
What did it feel like when you found out you was coming on to a tour to the
Oh man, it was a blessing. It was a huge blessing to find out I was coming on to the Philippines tour. Um, Ball Up, I talk to Anthony all the time about, how amazing Ball Up is and, how big of a thing it is. There's nobody doing what Ball Up is doing as far as taking a team full of Americans to an entire different country to be able to show off their talent and, possibly get signed if they're a true professional in the way that they move on and offside the court. There's nobody doing that. So to have this opportunity and to be a part of that is just a huge blessing. Dude, I've sacrificed so much time, family time, going out, hanging with the boys. It's just a lot of sacrifices that comes with trying to be a professional.
What does playing professionally mean to you?
It means everything to me. I've been chasing this since I was a child. This is all I ever wanted. I didn't go to college to get a degree. I was never that guy. I went to college because that was the way to get to professional athletics. It's the system. That's the way the system is built. And which is makes me want to give another hats off to Ball Up Sports because some of the kids I train, I want them to maybe go straight to the Philippines out of high school. You know what I mean? Start getting younger guys opportunities because they're already paying guys in college. So why not just be a professional straight out of high school? Where do I hope this tour takes me? I wrestle with that. I wrestle with that a lot because I could see this tour taking off my basketball career the way that I've always dreamed and envisioned it being. And, it's a blessing and a curse in that because now I train so many kids and I have personal relationships with these kids that I almost rather see them have the opportunity to get everything that I didn't get to get out of the game than experience it myself at this point in time in my life. But I hope to get I hope to prove to not myself because I know exactly who I am as a basketball player, but I truly want the world to see, what I can do without limitations, without, the politics that comes with basketball, without being put in a situation to where I was a transfer portal guy before the transfer portal was a thing. So I'm just really looking to prove that I am who I say I am. The message that I would give to other players like me is to just keep going. You got to keep going. You got to keep working. You got to stay committed to your process and everything that you say you want to do. You know what I mean? If you don't believe it first, then how can anybody else believe it? You know what I mean? So you got to, there's steps that you have to take. First, you got to vision it, right? Then you got to make a plan for it, and that's writing it out. And then you got to find the discipline to stick to that plan. And then you got to develop the confidence that and understand that the world is not going to care about your dream. So if you care about your dream and you're willing to go get it, it can very much happen. That's what I would like to tell players like me. How would I want to be remembered as a player, as a person? Um, Honestly, I'm more of a villain type of guy, to be completely honest with you. So I don't mind taking that villain role. I want to be remembered as a dog. You know what I mean? And everything I do, having that dog nature, having that go get 'em attitude. That I'm here to win. I'm gonna compete. Back against the wall. It doesn't matter. That's how I want to be remembered. If this is my one shot, what am I gonna do with it? Well, thank God this is my one shot. So what I plan to do with it, I plan to dominate. I plan to win. I plan to be a good teammate. I plan to even help players get better over there. You know what I mean? If I can coach a guy up, if I can help a guy out, I plan to be the leader that God always intended for me to be. And I plan to dominate while doing that.